Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's mid-March here in South Jersey. It's a wonderful 72 degrees and sunny. We don't say that too often in early spring, but welcome to Material Issues, episode number 145. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. As I said, it's early evening here in southern New Jersey, but it's middle of the afternoon in Southern Cal, where my good friend, the president of the International Pop Overthrow Festival, Mr. David Bash, is all replete in a new paisley, orange and blue and purple and pinks, and I gotta love it. Good evening, afternoon.
Uh, good afternoon here. Good evening there, Mark. After that speech, you still said good
And
evening.
we even have to say good morning too at some point.
Yeah, right.
It's
Well,
crazy.
we don't want to let people know about our illicit affair where we say good morning to each
I
other.
know, I know.
Oops.
Oops. Episode 95.
Right. Hi, everyone. Great to see everybody here. It's a nice sunny day in Southern California. It's actually going to get warm this weekend. When I say warm, I mean high 70s, maybe low 80s, which we haven't had for quite a while. So, we're really looking forward to that. Sunny out here, but a very sad day in the world of pop music, of course, as one of the heroes, one of the true icons of pop and power pop, Mr. Eric Carmen, passed away over the weekend. At this point, undisclosed causes. We know that he died in his sleep. That's all we know. He was only 74, so it's obviously these days that's young. When we were kids and people died in their mid-70s, it was like, well, yeah. But now
he had a good run.
74, it's like that's young.
Yes, it is. Yes,
so it's always a tragedy. People have been posting quite a bit on Facebook about it, and people have been playing Raspberry songs and his solo album. I know I played a few of his solo albums, just for enjoyment and reminiscence over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very sad, but like I always say, when this happens, and everyone's going to respond in a different way. In most cases, I didn't know the people themselves. Occasionally, I've met a few of my icons over the years, but most of them I haven't. So all I really know well and all that means anything to me is their music. And so the solace I can always take is that the music's still here.
Yeah.
Thank God when they go, their music doesn't go with them.
Yeah.
So whatever that music means to me, it still does. And in some ways I can celebrate their life while listening to their music. But, and again, I'm not judging everyone. Some people just bawl their eyes out when their music icons die. I'm just not one of those, but I obviously I get bummed, sad, but I'm just glad. It reminds me, when that happens of their music, how great it was, how much it meant to me when I was younger, and how much it still means to me. And Eric Carmen is certainly one of, I never met him. I've never even spoken with him online, but, his music obviously means as much to me as just about anybody's. So,
well, and as you and I talked before the show started here, we're growing up in a time where when we were young, we saw and heard of, or were told of, or were played, or saw on television the icons of the 40s, 50s, music, movies. And then through the 60s, with all the variety shows, we saw them all. And now, as we're up here in the 2020s, we've seen all the greats go. And when you start seeing, really iconic, and I know Mr. Borak will slap me for using that word again, but, iconic people from our youth that really, blew our minds musically, like an Eric Carmen, it lets you know that, time passes. And
time passes, and as we were talking about before the show, the older you get, the more of your heroes go, and then ultimately your peers, your friends.
Yeah.
And it's just something you you want, at least on an intellectual. That's John. John and I had a talk about the word gutted. But anyway, on an intellectual level, you want to prepare yourself for it. That's certainly never enough.
Yeah.
Especially when you lose a friend or a family member. Even if you're prepared, even if even if they're ill and they have a terminal illness, you're never going to be emotionally prepared for it.
No.
But yeah, the older you get, the more you have to experience of it. And,
And that's why it's so fantastic that we have young artists today releasing things that can just, make you smile and enjoy the heck out of.
That is a good
music
segue, but I actually had another one prepared because I want to show this new watch that I got.
All right.
This is a company from New Zealand. It's called Beaufort, Beaufort. This is the Sea Tracker. They have several different colors, but their most recent one is this silver. Yes, it is.
Nice.
This recent one is their silver, and I didn't have any silver watches, and I thought, wow, this is just so cool. It's silver, white, and black. I hate the Oakland Raiders, but I always liked their old uniforms that were silver and white.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. Sometimes they would wear those. This watch kind of reminds me of that look.
That's nice.
So again, as I said, they're from New Zealand, and so that also is a segue to our guest, who is not from New Zealand, but is from their neighboring country or continent, as you might say, Australia. He was brought up in Fremantle, Perth, and we've already had Dom Mariani, who's from that area, as our guest, and so is our guest today. Although he then, like a lot of musicians, he went to the big city, in this case Melbourne, and that's where he set his sights on making it in this music biz of ours, and he's certainly achieved quite a bit for such a young man in the power pop world. In 2017, he released this wonderful album, Inner City Dream, which finished number 6 for me on my best of 2017 list. And I just remember how, at the time, how remarkable it was to me that such a young man had his finger on the pulse of these great 60s and 70s influences, his ability to write a hook and all that stuff. And he certainly hasn't lost it, as his new album would attest. All Fuller, no filler. Out on Cheer Squad Records on vinyl. You got the vinyl there, right?
Oh, yeah. It's coming.
Looks really nice.
Yeah.
And our good friend Ray Gianchetti at Cool Cat has released the CD, which I hold in my hands. So either way, or both ways, you can get this wonderful album. I believe it's coming out on Friday on vinyl. And I think it's already available on CD through the Cool Cat website.
Wow.
But we'll play some songs from it, and we'll talk to our guest about this album and about his life, his career, and what he hopes to see for the future. So, without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Wesley Fuller.
There he is.
How are you, young man? And we can say that because we're old. We're in our 60s.
G'day, David.
Most power pop people.
Yes, indeed. And it is bright and early over there in Australia. So thanks for, as a musician, getting up early.
No worries. I'm usually sitting at my desk at work by this time, so it's a nice change to be at home talking about music with you guys. So.
Oh, nice.
Wait,
nice.
So you have a day job?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, let's not go into that though. It's very boring.
Yeah. So I before I brought you on, I'm a big watch collector, and I showed off this watch by a company from New Zealand, and I just wanted to ask, if we in the States who pay attention to such things, we're of the belief that there's a huge rivalry between New Zealand and Australia, kind of like New York and Boston, or LA and San Francisco. Is that the case?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I believe it all started over a game of cricket back in the 70s. You guys familiar with cricket, the game of cricket?
Oh, yeah, we are.
Familiar, but it's not a states thing. Yeah.
It's probably one of our national games, and the same with New Zealand. So, but yeah, in terms of music, we're always claiming their musicians and they're claiming ours, and there's a lot of kind of transcontinental rivalry. So, we're always mocking their accents too. So,
there is a difference. Yeah, I can't. It's hard for the uninitiated to hear it, but yeah, I do. How long does it take to fly from, let's say, Melbourne to Auckland?
Oh, only an hour or two, I believe. Yeah,
it's that close.
Wow. Yeah, you kind of go up and then you're down and then you're already there. So yeah,
wow, that's like LA and San Francisco is that way. You just, by the time you hit your ascent, you're doing your descent. Yeah. Wow, I didn't know it was that close. I would have guessed like 5 or 6 hours, but okay, wow.
We've got a few musician friends that what do you call it? Expats. They landed in New Zealand because I guess it's very very expat friendly for people from the States. I don't know. They love it. Beautiful country.
Yeah. But and you mentioned cricket, but American baseball is obviously very big in Australia as well. There are in our baseball major leagues, we have quite a few Australians who have come over. So are you a fan of baseball? Or
I honestly haven't played it since primary school. I used to love it in primary school, but no, like as soon as I kind of hit my teens, it was all football and cricket for me. So
okay.
When
you say football, do you mean Australian rules football or soccer?
No, Aussie the Australian brand of football.
Okay.
Yeah, rugby as we call it, right?
No, it's a unique form of football. It's kind of unique to Australia, so it's only played in Australia. But here in Melbourne, you get like 100,000 people to a local game. So
whoa,
yeah, it's massive.
Australia's a bucket list country for me. I've got to get there. My one daughter was going to do a college semester in Australia, but it didn't work out. That would have been cool, but.
No, you and me both. I've wanted to do an IPO in Australia for so long. It's there's so many obstacles. Some of which hopefully one day I'll overcome them all and we'll do it because I've never visited there either. And what a way to make a trip there for me. So we'll see one day. But anyway, let's talk about the new record. Both of us are very, very impressed. And, again, compared to us and, well, compared to most people, you are a very young man. Compared to most people doing power pop, you are young. It's mostly geezers because we were brought up on the bands that influenced power pop. And but other people got to it later in the game. Hey, Gary, how did you become a fan of 60s and 70s pop music? Was it your family or did you discover it on your own?
Well, there was always music in the house growing up, but to be honest, my parents were too young for that era. So their music was kind of the 1980s music.
We're really old when somebody says their parents are too young.
Yeah, I had pretty young parents, but they all were into the 80s and 90s stuff, and that never really appealed to me. So yeah, I kind of I came across the Beatles. It's a very embarrassing story, but it was actually on Australian Idol, the first year of Australian Idol in 2003. Shannon Noll actually did a cover of Hey Jude. And I was like, wow, that's a cool song. Who sings that song? It was the first time I'd ever heard a Beatles song. And just kind of did a bit of research from there and, came across the number ones, the Beatles number ones album. And I asked my parents, can I please have that for Christmas? So they gave me the number ones album for Christmas, and from there, I just kind of spend my pocket money buying a new Beatles album every few months. And from the Beatles, I moved on to the Beach Boys, the Who, the Byrds, Jefferson Airplane, the Mamas and the Papas. So I just kind of went down a bit of a 60s rabbit hole. But it was a journey I was taking by myself as a young teenager, so it felt really cool and exciting that I was doing something that no one else around me was doing.
Yeah.
Did your friends give you grief? Like why aren't you listening to today's music?
Oh yeah, Yeah. We're talking an era where kind of like rap rock was quite popular. So Linkin Park and 50 Cent and this kind of rap music was kind of dominating the charts. And really, like there hadn't really been a 60s revival at all in my lifetime at that stage. So it was definitely kind of cutting against what was trendy. That's for sure.
Now, while you were listening to these bands, the Beatles, discovering all this music, so to speak, were you playing at the time? Were you learning instrument? What kind of got you to the playing side of things?
Well, I started on the piano when I was 7, and I briefly started in classical piano, and then it was soon realised that I didn't have the I was more of a sight reader. Sorry, I kind of learned by ear. I wasn't very good at sight reading, so I was never going to be a classical musician. But I kind of had an ear for pop songs. So my piano teacher started playing me more kind of pop music and saying, "Can you play this back to me?" And I could kind of she could play something and I could just play it back to her just by listening to it. So she kind of picked up that I kind of was probably going to go in more of that kind of direction as a musician. So I started kind of doing more kind of pop piano. My granddad bought me a guitar for my 12th birthday. It was just a Squire Strat. So kind of taught myself over that summer how to play a few chords. In early high school, there was a drum kit sitting around in the music room, and I learned that they didn't lock the music room at lunchtime, so I'd kind of sneak in and just kind of have a bit of a bash. The teachers went around, so I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" I just had a bit of a play around myself, and kind of picked up the drums when I was about 13, 14 too. So
wow. Yeah, while the rest of us were collecting baseball cards, you were busy learning every instrument you could pick up, which see, David, we screwed up even back then. But your love of the 60 sounds is quite obvious on everything you've done. The harmonies, the melodies. We talked about Eric Carmen passing away recently, and I saw a statement he made in an interview. He said, "It's not that difficult to write a good song when you know what you're doing. It's extremely difficult to write a great song, And he said he could turn out good songs left and right. But writing a great song is the hard part, which is connecting with people lyrically and with the melody to make it stick in their heads and whatnot. What's your process? I mean, are you a lyrics guy? Are you a melody guy first? Where do you go?
I'm a bit of a weird one. So I kind of in a random moment in my life, the hook of the song will kind of pop into my head. I'll just be going through something in some experience, and I'll kind of hear part of the song, but I'll hear the whole arrangement. So it's kind of like I've got a little radio in my head. I'm just kind of hearing this song for the first time in its full form, not the whole song, but just a little bit of it. So, and it's always kind of been that way since I started writing. When I was in my early teens. So I guess the challenge has been to try and it's easier now because you've got a recorder on your phone, but try and capture that full arrangement idea as soon as it hits, and it can hit in the most awkward times. Like I had a great song idea come to me when I was in the middle of a chemistry exam in high school, and just like this really inconvenient time when I was out on a date with someone. But the thing about ideas is you have to grab them straight away, otherwise they're gone, and you can try and remember.
When you're on a date, that might be a great time because you can impress her. Like, look what I just came up with. Of course, she'll say, "Well, that doesn't sound like Taylor Swift, so forget it." But you mentioned hooks, and I think on your new album, well, on all of your stuff, I mean, the hook is really something that's very salient. And unlike a lot of people these days, you repeat the hook line quite a bit, which I love, because that's what, we grew up on songs that did that. It's almost like a lost art. And so I want to play the the second single, according to what I'm reading here, the second single from All Fuller, No Filler, Alamein Line, which is a song where you really do repeat the hook line quite often. And it helps. It really does help a song stay in your head. So from All Fuller, No Filler, track number 2.
My favorite. Yeah.
And Mark's favorite, Alamein Line. Here we go.
Love it.
Good volume.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you know, you repeat the hook line so often, which is something that even a lot of power pop bands these days don't do. They might repeat it once or twice, and that's it. Oh, there you go.
Alfred,
you should. I gotta. Is White Horse a real place? I just love how that line comes out of nowhere. Is it a place that people in Australia know, or?
Possibly, yeah. If you're in Melbourne, it's one of the outer kind of regional councils here. So if you've ended up in Whitehorse, you've probably gone too far on the train. So you've slept and missed your stop.
I love that. Now
that's wonderful. Yeah,
yeah, the Toms did that. Jordan Oakes is right. Do you know the band the Toms?
Yeah, love them. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, so you know the song Hook, and that was where he says repeat the hook line over and over till you got it memorized, and he keeps repeating that. Yeah. And some people thought it was ad nauseum. I thought it was great. Like, you know, it's such a good hook. Why be shy about it? Just because the more you repeat it, the more a song stays. And that's what I mean. Too many power pop. And I'm not I'm not demeaning power pop artists of today. I love them, but that's one thing that I wish more of them would do. Just they have a really good hook, just repeat it so that it stays in people's heads after the song is over. Now, you were talking about, learning about the Beatles and Beach Boys when you were a kid in Melbourne. This is, of course, after the resurgence of power pop not in Melbourne, in Perth, I'm sorry, the resurgence of power pop in the 80s. This is before that. But did you get to know people like Dom Mariani of DM3?
Yeah, I became friends with Dom after I left high school. So when I was in high school, I knew Dom's son John, who played in a band at the time, and after that band broke up, I started jamming with John, and we were going to form a band. Never really kind of took off, but I'd go over to Dom's house, and he'd kind of be there, and I knew of him. I obviously knew about the Stems, so I think the Stems reformed in 2007. So that was a pretty big deal in Perth at the time. So that was when I kind of discovered their music, and I was like, this is awesome. It was around the time some of their old film clips started popping up on YouTube, like the Tasman 2 film clip, at first sight. So it was a great introduction to Dom, and I actually joined his solo band for a little while just before I left Perth. Just for about 6 months or so, did a bit of studio recording with him on one of the Majestic Kelp records. It was great. He's a great guy. I've been lucky enough to support the Stems a few times when they came to Melbourne on the last tour. Great band. He's a brilliant songwriter. So
indeed.
Oh, yeah.
Was the band with his son the first band you were in, or were there others prior?
No, I didn't actually get to start a band with John. We really just had a few jam sessions, and actually John burnt me a mix CD, and it was called the best of power pop, and because Dom had obviously taught him all there is to know about classic power pop records, and that's actually how I discovered bands like the Raspberries and the first wave, I guess, of the second wave, the 70s wave of power pop. Bands like I was already to Badfinger, but those kind of sounding bands that came afterwards in the mid to late 70s. John burnt me this mix CD, and I just studied every song, and I was like, this is fantastic. So
And the beauty of it is there's so much out there from the 60s and the 70s. I mean, you yourself being a fan now and going back, you've probably not even taken hold of 5% of what's really still out there. We talk about it all the time. We interview a lot of artists who maybe have never had an official release, or they're for the first time, some labels gone back and
they're like Peach and Lee, for example.
Peach and Lee.
You think you've heard everything, and then suddenly this duo of guys, like 25 songs of theirs, previous and unreleased, now come to light of day, and it's awesome stuff. So there's still so much out there that's yet to be discovered.
Yeah, which is great about being younger, because it's just it's all brand new, and that's a wonderful thing. But really cool. Yeah, the hooks, man, the hooks in your albums just killed me. I wasn't that familiar with you when David said we've got Wesley Fuller coming up. Man, I've just been absorbing the heck out of it. So we've got the new album, all Fuller, no filler. Your previous album was 2017,
yeah,
and
right.
Then you had your first was an EP, Mel Vista. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yep, spot on.
Which was an incredible song. I found that on YouTube, a cool video with that. Looks like you're doing all the instrumentation yourself. I don't know if that was a Hofner club bass that you got a real cool sound out of that. That was very cool. Neat stuff. But on the new album, are you playing most of the stuff yourself, or do you have some guys that came in?
Yeah, no, I play everything myself on this record. It was pretty much out of necessity, really, because I recorded most of it during lockdown. So I started recording it just before, and then I sort of the long lockdown period was when I had a chance to actually finish it, or almost finish it. And I got maybe halfway through, and I was like, well, I've recorded everything myself so far. I might as well just kind of make this all me, and not, because on my first record, I did reach out to a few friends, my lead guitarist and my bass player, and just got a little bit of help with solos and things like that. I had my backing singers, who I've used on previous records. This time around, I just decided to do it all myself, just have complete control over it. And obviously during lockdown, we couldn't really mix, and you couldn't have any studio sessions and have friends around to record guitar lines. It wasn't deemed essential to, even though this record was going to be, something special, wasn't categorized as, essential work. So, had to do it all myself.
But you know what? It has that organic feel. We mentioned the toms, which was called the toms because it was Tom on guitar, Tom on bass, Tom on everything. And this album reminds me quite a bit of that first Tom's album. And one of the reasons is it's got that organic feel. Like you get the sense that you did everything.
Yeah, I guess one of the benefits of doing it all yourself is you kind of know your own, like you can kind of read your own playing. So, I know what I'm going to do on bass or on drums. So it's easier to kind of lock in and click into it. And, there's no need to rehearse what you're playing. I just know I've already mapped it out in my head. So obviously I've spent a long time multi-tracking it, which is why it took so long to record. But ultimately, it all sounds a lot more smooth and seamless, I think.
Yeah,
it does. And I think
David wasn't sure. When is it officially released?
Tomorrow. Well, it's
tomorrow for you. Yeah.
It's already Thursday here.
Yeah, we were going to ask you about the winning lottery numbers since you're a day ahead of us, but it's too old of a joke.
We have special powers in Australia. We can predict the future. So
have you been to the States, and more than that, have you played here? Any shows?
I haven't been yet. I haven't played. It's definitely on the bucket list. It's just obviously, like you said, we're so far apart, and it's really hard. It's this like you said, so many hurdles to get over there and actually get people to come along to your shows as well. Obviously, it's really expensive to tour. Yeah. But hopefully one day I'd love to.
I hope so too. And back in the day when I started IPO in the the late 90s, early 2000s, flights were a lot cheaper from Australia. So we would get several Australian artists coming to LA. One of our favorite Australian bands is the Wellingtons, and they came early on, and the Stanleys also. They're
on my label
too. They came to IPOs in several cities, but this was before the prices just shot up, and the pandemic didn't do any favors. That's for sure. Even for us to book, I do IPO at the Cavern, and in Liverpool, and just for us to book tickets there, it's gone up like twice what it was pre-pandemic. So in so many ways. And that's another segue, because the next song from the new album I wanted to play is Jacaranda. And, was that title inspired at all by the club where the Beatles got their start?
It's funny. I was actually at the Jacaranda Club back in November last year. I went to Liverpool, and me and my girlfriend had a big night out at the Jacaranda. It's such a cool place. And we were astounded by how cheap the beers were as well. But it wasn't inspired by it. But it's, if anyone is ever in Liverpool, I'd highly recommend the Jacaranda Club. We had a great time. Yeah,
indeed, and definitely highly recommend the Cavern. Did you get to play there, or did you get to go? Or did you at least get to go and see it?
No, I couldn't get in. The line was going down the street. I walked past maybe 4 or 5 times. I was like, I'll just try and get ducked down there, when it's a bit quiet. But it was like 9:30 in the morning, and there was already a big line going down the street. The tourist buses kind of rolled up, and Yeah, I didn't get a chance, but
I wonder
yeah,
what's going on there in November that early for that to happen. But that's
Some
great.
Beatles thing, yeah, obviously.
Probably, yeah. But
I mean that whole part of that whole section of Liverpool is just so vibrant and lively. Like
Yeah,
at any day of the week, any time of day, it's just going off. So it's really cool.
Which is the reason why we love doing IPO there every year, and why they keep inviting us back, because the club is the draw. So yeah, and there it is. That's our last year's IPO Liverpool T-shirt that he's got on.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day, I mean, if you ever want to come back to Liverpool, plan it for the end of May, maybe, and we could work out having you play. But let's play the track Jacaranda, another favorite of mine.
Another great track, yeah.
So here we go. Track number 3, as I understand it.
Need to remind myself all that I know to be true. Timing has never been my friend, for I'm really old and in with the new. I need to align myself before I am lost in the maze. Soon is up on a dusty shelf, remind me of the halcyon days. Rise with me from the aftermath, walk with me down the golden path. Come on to me, Jacaranda. I never walked your way when you were beginning to bloom. All the time I was being led astray through crowded streets and waiting rooms. Need to remind myself you won't stick around for too long. When the summer sings farewell, you'll be riding into the sun, rising from the aftermath. Walk with me down the golden path. It's our season, Jacaranda. Need to remind ourselves all that I know to be true. Need to remind ourselves all that I know to be true. Ride the waves of vibrancies to the shores of reality. Seize the moment, Jacaranda. Rise with me from the aftermath, walk with me down the golden path. See the shining Jacaranda. Come on to me, Jacaranda.
All right. Before we say anything else, here's something I've got to ask. Of course, we know about, and I'm sure you know about, the travails George Harrison had with "My Sweet Lord" and "He's So Fine." You know about that, and then a few years later, he wrote this song where he said, "This song came to me unknowingly," and I believe that, because how can you not be affected by your influences on an unconscious level, and then write a line that, without realizing it, may have come from another song? So when I first heard this song, I don't know if anyone's brought this up to you or not, or if you knew it even consciously, but the opening line that's repeated reminds me so much of I Want to Be With You by Raspberries, where he opens it and he says, "When we were older, we wouldn't have," and it's almost note for note replication. I mean, I can see it by the look on your face that that's something that you never realized, never intended to do.
I'm hearing this for the first time, and yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same melody and kind of cadence, and Yeah, no, that wasn't deliberate.
You see how it happens, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
People out there understand that when people write songs, sometimes their influences will seep in on an unconscious level and manifest. And it's not like, oh, I love that song, I'm going to rip it off and I'm going to write the exact same thing. No, it just happens.
But that's interesting because I'm a huge Raspberries fan, and I didn't even think about that listening to this song. So
But you hear it now, though.
I hear
right?
it now that you
Yeah.
say
So-
it. But I think you could probably do that with a lot of
So Wally
people.
Bryson and company, leave Wesley alone. He didn't
Leave him
mean it.
alone.
please. I'm wasn't intended.
I'll tell you what, though, obviously there's a whole different layers of everything going on there. It's not just a direct pull of
No,
I
I
agree with
mean,
you. But what I enjoy about that track is I love great background vocals, and I love when a word or two is carried through a full lyric line with the background vocals instead of just absolutely repeating the lead vocal. And it's just so well done. You do it so well on that
and
track.
it's such a lost art. But
Yeah.
that stuff was extant in all these 60s tracks, hits or non-hits. It was something that was just part of it. And it's why we love it so much. And
Yeah.
you're bringing it back in your stuff. And we really are grateful for that.
Honestly, like probably one of my favorite genres of all time is like sunshine pop. And not like no one really knows what it is. If I say, "Oh, yeah, I love sunshine pop," they're like, "What?" like people my age, and
Right.
yeah, it's not really a thing anymore. Like there might be a couple of bands out there doing it, but essentially, yeah, it is that that kind of vocal interplay where you've got your 4-part harmonies, but you're kind of weaving it in and out. It's not just kind of block harmonies. You do, and it kind of, I guess it comes from a kind of chorale background. So I did sing in choirs. I went to a music school and I learned about 4-part harmony, and there was a lot of that kind of that music theory that went into it. So I do like exploring that in my songs where I can, trying to incorporate some of that into it. Yeah,
it's very well done. I really appreciate that because that my ear goes right to it, and then I've got to listen to it again and again, and you hear like you said, the vocal interplay of the background of not repeating what you're saying, but it then folds right into the climax of what you're saying, and you do it really well. That's not an easy thing to do, and I'm quite impressed with it, as everybody will be if they go to Cool Cat Music and order the CD. Or I got my vinyl from Cheer Squad on Bandcamp, so they've got everything out there. And I gotta say, I put a picture up there. The vinyl is really cool. The album is very very nice and yellow. But let me put this picture back up here of the marble vinyl as well. Really cool. Love the retro 70s tuxedo with the frilly shirt. Gotta love that look. It's really neat.
that's my vibe. I just if anyone sees me out and about in Melbourne, that's kind of what I'm wearing. So,
What's the
reason
live
I
scene?
wore this shirt is because I did it in honor of you, because I've seen pictures of you wearing paisley. So
Nice.
Yep, that's it.
What's the live scene like in Melbourne right now? Are you playing out personally? Do you have a band together? Or you do solo stuff, or what's happening?
Yeah, so I only play with my band. Just the way I write my songs, I don't really write them for a solo kind of performance. I have done the odd solo performance, but I prefer to play with my band. I like to bring energy to the show, and my live show probably is a little bit more kind of rock and roll, a bit more hard edge, a bit more some of my glam influences come through. But yeah, I haven't been playing as much since I've come back. I've kind of been choosing a few shows and just been really trying to promote them. It's I guess that the landscape kind of post-COVID it's a lot trickier to get people out and about.
Yeah.
Unless you're a bigger act and you just have this pulling power. But it's something that local promoters are working on trying to find new ways to get people to come along to gigs just to check out bands that might be playing. Like that used to be, like Melbourne was kind of renowned for that. It's, that's the whole reason I moved here.
Yeah.
Was because it was just the place to be.
You guys meaning Australia and New Zealand, especially New Zealand, was known for handling the pandemic in a much more efficient way than the rest of the world. And yet it still has such a profound impact, and mostly in a negative way, on the music scene, which is unfortunate. I mean, it's a big struggle for me and the bands who play IPO also. We still have people who won't come to clubs. And we have other musicians who won't play even, a couple of years later. So
yeah, I think it's tough as well for young people coming through and trying to rise through the ranks, because there's not as many venues anymore. Like there used to be a solid, every couple of months there was a new venue opening up in Melbourne and they did live music. Now, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of venues close, and there hasn't really been any new venues open. So there's still your classics. Your Cherry Bar is the home of rock and roll in Melbourne. You've got your venues which will never die, but it's harder to find a place to gig, and I feel like a lot of young people are just kind of putting being in a band in the kind of too hard basket, and just kind of focusing on other things, because there doesn't seem to be as much hope, I guess, for them to kind of get anywhere with it. So you really have to be doing it for the love of it.
Absolutely.
To be willing to just slug it out for a while. So
it's so different, because when I started IPO in the late 90s, we had, and being in LA, of course, where all the labels were, there was still a lot of hope that they'll play a gig, some A&R person from a major label will be there, think, wow, you guys are great, bring them to the attention of their boss, and before you know it, they're signed, and they're going to get to tour and the whole bit. Even a few years after that, the house of cards started falling, and and of course the industry imploded completely, and now there barely is one. If to get a major label deal, they have to know you're going to sell like 3 million copies, and then there's the streaming and the whole bit. And you're right. These days you've got to do it because you love it. It's certainly a struggle, and COVID, of course, did us no favors. And by the way, just so you know, it's not just happening in Australia or Melbourne. This is happening every place I go. Everywhere I go, musicians are telling me the same thing. COVID caused clubs to close. There aren't new ones to replace them. It's harder to get a show. Harder as we get older. It's harder to get people to come out. It's a total struggle. But you know what? Being a musician or being a music promoter, the one thing that you're going to have is you're going to love what you do. You get a job, you get a corporate gig somewhere. That may not be the case, and it probably isn't going to be the case. But if you're a musician, at least you've got that. You know that you're going to love it.
Yeah, indeed. Well, how did you end up on Cool Cat, which Ray's a good friend of ours. Ray lives 20 minutes from me. Cool Cat, so it's right down the road. Was that just something Cheer Squad worked out, or were you familiar with Cool Cat at all?
I had heard of them, but that was something that Cheer Squad arranged, I believe. But totally, like, really stoked that happened. It's it's great to be able to just get the record over to the States. I probably would have happened without them. So
that's very cool. Cool Cat's a great label to be on. Ray's a great guy. He promotes the heck out of this stuff, and he's kind of Not Lame. Are you familiar with what Not Lame Records was for
again,
a million years? They were like the place to go.
I'm getting the feeling that I don't care who we mention, he's going to know who they.
Yeah, I know. But Not Lame, but and Bruce Brodeen, pretty much. I mean, he still does a lot with Power Pop, but the label and the distribution, the catalog, and the website and things is kind of faded. And Cool Cat is really, I think, David, you'll agree with me, it's kind of the go-to place for everything Power Pop that everybody in the world goes to. So it's a great it's a great
Yeah,
distribution
but
point.
the other
Yeah.
great thing about them, not only do they have that amazing mail order company, but Ray is open to hearing all kinds of stuff, and
Mhm.
if he likes it, he'll put it out. I
Yeah.
mean, he's great about that.
Yeah, indeed. And Cheer Squad's a really cool label. I didn't know that much about them, and since checking you out, Wesley, I've been checking a lot of stuff out on that label. They've got quite a list of artists. I love it. What's the one guy's name? Levine or something? It's the strangest. I forget. I got
Adam
it.
Levine is on Cheers.
No. I have to look it up. He did something about the Steve McQueen. He's got a new
I saw that. Yeah, that's a great title.
but it's I don't want to say it's the weirdest stuff because I like it, which makes me weird, I guess. But he has this like just speaking. He speaks his lyrics and with some really cool electronic stuff behind it. And he's just saying, I'm no Steve McQueen. He just keeps you talk about repeating the hook. That's why it sticks in my head. But anyhow, great stuff. Cheer Squad's a cool label to be on. Yeah.
Now, I mean, you because of as you mentioned, because of the pandemic, you were kind of forced into doing this whole album yourself. But how does that?
There we go, Scott Lavine.
Okay,
Somebody knows it. Nice.
But when you play live, you have a band, and you said you have a grittier sound. But how much of a perfectionist are you when it comes to the band? How important is it to you that they get everything right the way you envisioned it on the record?
Look, I'm the ultimate perfectionist. However, I do have to always remind myself that the band has to be fun for them to want to continue doing it. So as a solo artist, it's a bit different to being in a band where you're there with, and it's more of a collaborative thing, and everyone's getting a chance to express themselves. Whereas at my rehearsals, they are rocking up and they're kind of learning the songs how I've arranged them, and to their credit, that they're brilliant at that. There's never any qualms about playing the songs how I'd like them to be played. But like certainly when I was younger, I was probably a little bit more of a control freak, and I'd get a little bit more frustrated at a gig if I heard any kind of mistakes, or I'd get really hung up on the little things. But I think now, just from going to gigs as well, and just kind of, I think most people at a gig who, they're not going to be familiar with every part, every aspect of your song. There's probably only a few things that they want to hear in the song, and the rest is just vibe. So they want to see the band looking cool, having a great time, and just the little things. I've kind of learned to try and let them go a bit more.
That's really that's very important, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen bands both at IPO and not. You can tell they're getting frustrated, especially when they're playing on gear that they don't know well. Like if they're part of a festival, they're going to be using a backline. And, I remember this one band who played IPO Liverpool. After one of their songs, he kept complaining about how he couldn't get the amp to sound the way he wanted, the main guy. And, his co-main guy was kind of staring at him like, shut up. They don't know. The people out there don't know how it's supposed to sound exactly. We're sounding good up here. And the crowd is vibing with us. Stop being an ass and stop complaining about the sound of you. And I'm constant, a lot of times when bands say, I don't think we got the sound right, I'll always tell them, look, they don't know how it's supposed to sound. All they know is that they're loving it. So I'm glad you have your finger on the pulse of that, it's more important that the people out there love it than it is to get everything exactly the way you had it.
Yeah, indeed.
And
indeed.
That comes with age. As you said, when you were younger, maybe you'd be more frustrated if that didn't happen, but now you get it. Are your bandmates in your age group, or are they older or younger?
No, we're all roughly the same age.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're all kind of on the same.
And are they big power pop people also?
Possibly. They some of them are. It's one of those things. Like a lot of people probably like some power pop bands. They just don't know that it's power pop per se. it's one of those genres again, like sunshine pop. It's like if I played it to you, you probably would like it because it's pretty catchy music. But they wouldn't put their hand up and say, "Yeah, I'm a power pop fan." So,
well, you know what? If you've been in enough power pop Facebook groups, even experts don't know what power pop is.
that's true.
There's so much debate. There's only one thing I will say: Kiss is not power pop. I'm going to say it again.
Here we go. Here come the comments.
We don't need to delve into that. One thing I want to say about this record, and this is not usually the case with albums that I love, but most of my favorite songs are actually near the end of the record, which is great, because if you get through the beginning, the first part of the record, and you're loving what you're hearing, and then it gets even better. There's nothing like that experience. And so I have a couple other songs queued up, two of my favorites, which are closer to the end. The first one I'm going to play is The Velvet Affair. What was the inspiration behind that?
That was one that I wrote when I was still living in Perth, and I was just going to lots of kind of hippie house parties out in Fremantle, and just seeing lots of cool, groovy, psychedelic people. And it was the era where Tame Impala was kind of taking off, and so there's always that fuzzy kind of stuff. And I was listening to a lot of Jefferson Airplane at the time too, so I had that kind of 12-string jangle set with the Rickenbacker jangle sound too. So yeah.
Well, I think people are going to enjoy this, so let's get it going here with The Velvet Affair by Wesley Fuller.
Turn to me.
Man.
Love that psychedelic extended ending.
I'll tell you what. It, it's almost like, again, it's almost like it's so familiar, yet it's brand new, and it's awesome. The influences are just all over late 60s. I just love it. That little ethereal break that you do in there. It's very Monkees like production with that, some of that sound, and it's just it's intense, man. There's a lot of things going on. It really is like, I swear I've heard this before, and I haven't. But that's kind of
there aren't any particular lines in that song that like, wow, that's the same line as that. No, it's just inspired in this case.
Hey, the great John Kirby.
How do we haven't early on, we've been doing this show for about 2.5 years, and we've, most of our guests have been musicians. And prior to a few weeks ago, we weren't really playing their songs while they were on, because initially I would play them out of my computer, and instead of uploading them to a site, which is much better, I'd play them from my computer, and the sound would be really squirrely. So we didn't do it that often. So now we've been doing it for the last few weeks with our guests, but I haven't asked any of our guests, how do you feel about hearing your songs being played this way? Does it make you self-conscious, or do you just really dig it?
I loved watching Mark's reaction to hearing it. It's great you don't often get that kind of insight. You kind of just release a song and it's out there and people will tell you they love it, but just seeing how people react to hearing the song is great. Like that's why you write and record music, is for that kind of real reaction. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Indeed. And I'll tell you what, I talk about with David every once in a while. I'll say, like, that's a headphone song, and that's the kind of song right there. We talk about all the little things in the background, and I'm wearing really good ear monitors here.
I was gonna say, that's an earbud song.
It is, man. Yeah, you can really wrap yourself. I really like to lose myself in where the song takes you, and it's an art to be able to put something on record like that can take people away, man. That's fantastic. Great work, Wesley. Really well done. And David and I have heard our fair share of music over the years. So
a few things.
We know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Before we wind things up, let's play one more track, because I really love this one. Look No Further.
And this will be Cool Cat music coming out on. I'm guessing it's out on Friday on Cool Cat, or is it available
I think
already?
it might already be out on Cool Cat. No, or is it coming out on Friday on Cool Cat also? I don't know.
Anybody's they'll go to coolcatmusic.com.
It'll be up there. So
scrolling across the bottom.
You can probably pick it up right now, and if it's coming out on Friday, he could send it to you now, and you'll have it by then, maybe.
Great stuff.
Here's so we'll play this track, and then I have a couple other questions, and we'll just go from there. So Look No Further from All Fuller, No Filler.
Look no further, it's appeared before your eyes. Search is over, it's the ultimate surprise. Looking for closure, tired of running around. No need to worry about it now. Look no further, it's right here before your eyes. It's now or never, it's the ultimate disguise. Holding you closer when no one else can be found.
of course, one thing I have to say immediately, and I would assume you know this song, although this is not like the direct one-to-one with "I Want to Be with You" by Raspberries. But the first thing that I think of when I hear "Look No Further" is "Yellow Balloon," the song "Yellow Balloon."
Oh yeah,
Yeah, great song.
Of course, you know it. Yeah,
talk Sunshine
Great
Pop.
band.
Yeah, so Sunshine Pop is really, and of course, I hear a little Pet Sounds influence in there.
Well, I was just commenting earlier. I don't know, since Wesley knows the Beatles so well. Are you familiar with Klaatu? That's very Sir Army Suitish to me.
I get that now that you mention it.
Are you familiar with Klaatu, Wesley?
Yeah, I've been listening to that album, their first album, a lot lately. Just
pick up the next
blowing.
4. It'll all blow your mind. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, especially Sir Army Suit, which is the third one, is probably that's probably the closest thing to power pop that they do.
Yeah.
Shorter, more concise songs. The first 2, of course, are they're very grandiose in a really good way. So here's the thing. I haven't actually played the CD because a few months ago I got the files and I've been just playing them in my car and on my computer. So one thing I noticed, and I think this is true of the vinyl also, there's 13 tracks on the albums, yet when I got the files, I got a 14th track, a tune called Beltane Walk, which I love, by the way, I have to say. But why did that not end up making the album?
Because it would have made the album too long to cut, essentially.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I packed every kind of second of audio onto the record without making the quality worse to play. So that's the only reason. It's essentially a bonus track.
I don't know what you plan on doing with it, but I'm going to speak with you about this year's IPO compilation, volume 25. Maybe we'll be able to put it on there. I would be honored. I not putting on the spot, but just want to let you know how much I love the track, and I know it would make the compilation better. But I know this album just came out, but you say things inspire you sometimes almost randomly. Have you written some newer songs for the next record yet?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've already started recording.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've been sitting on this record for a little while. So yeah, finished recording it. Maybe late 22, mid to late 22. So yeah, like naturally, I've moved on and I've already started recording the next phase. I've got maybe half a dozen songs I'm working on at the moment, various stages of recording. So, don't really know what I'll use them for, but I just want to record them as best I can. And we'll kind of see how things pan out after this record is released and how well it does. And, what we kind of do from there.
Wonderful. Are these new songs being recorded all by you also, or now do you have musicians?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of doing it in the same way. I've kind of got my rhythm, the way I record, starting with the drums and then adding bass and guitars and keyboards and building it up. It's like kind of building a house.
Well, John Kirby just asked, are you a Pro Tools user?
No, John, no, I'm not. I've never used Pro Tools. I'm not that patient. I didn't have the patience to learn how to use it. So I've always I've used, this is again embarrassing to admit, but I've always used Adobe Audition as my kind of workstation. It's very basic, but I don't like to have any kind of technical kind of hold-ups when I'm in recording mode. I just like to kind of arm my tracks, hit record, and just be able to go and just kind of get my ideas down. So yeah, it's always worked for me. Doing it that way.
The sound is wonderful. The mix is great. I really like the drums, how the drums cut through, especially the snare cut. I really like that. The crispness to that, to the drive of that is wonderful. So you've done really well doing all this.
Yeah. So in other words, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, keep doing it. I mean, this is what makes this is what makes discovering new music. For me, it was new. David knew about you longer than I did, and when he said talking this young guy out of Australia, I was like, let me check it out. And then you go, this is great. And that's what drives us, I think, every day is discovering people who really do it well. I like you doing it.
Are you looking to tour this record pretty extensively?
I would love to. I guess it depends on, again, like how well it does, whether people buy it, whether there's the demand for a tour. It's really tough. I mean, we're on the other side of the universe down here, so it's to actually get to Europe, it's about 24 hours on a plane, probably about the same to America. So, the logistics of it are really tricky. And I don't really have, it's obviously expensive too, and I'm not really in that kind of position at the moment. But yeah, I would love to. So if everyone gets out there and buys it and tells their friends and shows it around, and I'd just love to be able to sell out this first run of records, and I think that'll be a good step towards some kind of international tour. Yeah.
What about like a national tour? Just or including New Zealand and that.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, nothing announced yet. But yeah, again, if I can sell a few copies, that goes a long way to to being able to book those kinds of tours. So
yeah, indeed.
Fingers
well,
crossed.
We're going to try to help as well as we can. Hopefully, people who are listening, and I can tell that they are really enjoying this record, and we'll go pick it up either from Cheer Squad or Cool Cat. Whichever your mode of
purchasing
expression is, CD or vinyl,
wonderful,
or both. It's been really great having you on the show.
Yeah.
We love, we're being sincere. We love this record, and we wish you all the best. And I'll just say this: if you are able to put together a national tour, an international tour. Look at the IPO schedule. If it happens to work out that you're in or around a city where we're doing something, please know you're always invited to any city in which we're doing the festival.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah,
great.
Really appreciate it. Cheers.
Great comments too. Thank you, Lisa, Tom. Yeah, fantastic talent. Wesley Fuller. Cool Cat Music is where you can get it. Internationally, but mostly in the States here. Everybody is familiar with that. So Cool Cat Music. Cheer Squad, they've got Bandcamp. Bandcamp paid with a lot of other artists. You could order the vinyl from there. That's where I got it. So wonderful. Best of luck to you, Wesley.
And by the way, check out Lisa Michaels' music if you don't know it, because she's a power popper in her own right. She has been even though she still looks like she's like 25. She's been doing this for a while and has tons of records out.
Yeah,
I will do, and thanks, Lisa, for the comments as well. I really appreciate that. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. All right, well, listen, have a great rest of your Thursday, and let us know what Thursday's like, so we're not too surprised before we get to it.
There's a lyric for you. Let us know what Thursday's like.
I'll send you tonight's lotto numbers in a private message.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
We need it. Wesley, really great for you to be on the show, and best of luck with this new album, All Fuller, No Filler. Wesley Fuller, Cool Cat Music, Cheer Squad Records. Best of luck with it. Have a great one. Thank you, Wesley.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right. Well, David, there you have it.
Yeah.
What a great album. What a talented,
very
young
talented
artist
young
out
man.
of
Very nice,
Australia.
very nice guy. We certainly wish him the best with this record and with everything else. And
I hope everybody goes
out. Have a chance to see him live someday.
Hope everybody goes out to Cool Cat. It picks up a physical copy of the CD when it comes out on Friday. The vinyl is fantastic. We showed a picture here of the under the brands. It's a really cool black and white marbled vinyl.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna have to get it.
Absolutely wonderful. So but the bottom line is the music is fantastic. If you're a fan of that's a way he described it. Very, very sunshine pop. Very
of all
60s,
things power pop, sunshine pop,
power
60s
pop
inspired.
The harmonies are great. The melodies are great. The interplay of the instruments. Everything about it is just. It's one of those albums that you, as we said, on a daily basis, we're always looking for the next one that makes you go, whoa, and this one makes you go, whoa.
I can already proclaim it as making my top 10 of 2024.
Whoa.
Even though there's 9 months left.
That's pretty big.
Yeah. Well, his last one was number 6. So
Yeah. Well,
you know, he's going to be one of the few who's top 10 2 albums in a row. So,
wow.
but you know, that's
And we got all kinds of great stuff coming up here too. I mean, this is a
we
fantastic
do
interview
indeed.
tonight. Man, our schedule's really full in the next 5 weeks or so, isn't it?
It's fuller than it usually is.
It's fuller.
Uh, sorry about that. So anyway, next week, March 20th, this show unfortunately was postponed from its initial date when I had to have my procedure done. But we're going to have the Kings on March 20th. Switching to Glide, This Beat Goes On, the big radio American bandstand MTV type hit. That's what they're known for. But they're still going strong. They've got a new record, The Longest Story Ever Told, and we will have Mr. Zero and Dave Diamond, the main men of the Kings, on March 20th. So yeah, I mean, talk about a hook that was repeated. That song stays in your head pretty easily. So we're gonna, but this record's really good. So they're still going strong. We'll have them on. Wonderful. On the 20th. On the 27th, we have an open date, which means it'll just be Mark and me, and we need a date like that. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of new releases, reissues that we can talk about, things happening in the music world.
And we've got, and David doesn't even know this yet, and I will update him after the show. But it's not a trivia thing. It's a new segment I'm going to propose to him tonight, and I guarantee he's going to love it. It's all about new music. So I got
the band new music or
no new music.
So with a C, not a K. Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting way to present it. Put it that way, in our own Material Issues way. So that's coming up. Look forward to that on that.
You mean I'm not going to get another Stump the Bash?
Oh, you are. We're going to play Stump the Bash.
Okay,
we're going to talk about new music in a certain American bandstand way, and it's going to be fun. I think you're going to like it. You're going to love it. So you got to tune in on the 27th to see what that's all about.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. And March 3rd will certainly be fun. You know, Wesley was talking about Sunshine Pop. We have one of the icons of Sunshine Pop coming up on March 3rd. And if Wesley's still listening, I'm sure he's familiar with the bands Sagittarius and the Millennium. Yes, we see him like hailing those great Sunshine Pop bands. Those bands were masterminded by the late great Mr. Kurt Betcher, but he had a lot of help, and one of his main aides in this was Sandy Salisbury, and he is going to be our guest on Material Issues on April 3rd. There's a new reissue that Sundays is putting out. I think it will be out right around that time. It's called Mellow as Sunshine, and this contains demos that Sandy did all previously unreleased, I believe, which will be coming out on this record here. Wow. Sundays has been one of the great proponents of Sunshine Pop over the years, along with all the garage music and other 60s stuff that they've released.
It's going to be awesome.
They've been amazing. And Sandy's such a gracious guy, and we're really looking forward to having him on March 3rd, and look out for Mellow as Sunshine. Really nice stuff on here. On March 10th, we're going to have one of the icons of the last 30 years. That's right, John Borak. I'm going to use it because I think it applies to this man. He's put out so many good records over the years. And it's been a while, but we're happy to say that he's working on a new one in between all his production duties and things like that. Yes, we're going to have the great Linus of Hollywood on Material Issues on April 10th. And I cannot wait to hear his new music. I don't know if he's going to have any ready for us to play at that point. But
that'd be cool.
You know, those of you who don't know Linus of Hollywood stuff, you need to go and find it wherever you can, online or elsewhere. You want to talk about a guy who has his finger on... and this is his stuff's nice mix of Sunshine Pop and Power Pop, which, as I said earlier, so really surprised me. I knew him, you know, initially from the band Size 14, who did some really cool geek rock, but it wasn't anything like Sunshine Pop or soft pop. And then one day he says, in '99, he says, I want to send you my new record. I was expecting something along the lines of size 14, and I was just absolutely floored by what I heard. And it was just so, as one of the songs on the record would say, heavenly. And so we're really glad to have Linus of Hollywood on March 10th. And then speaking of 60s inspired pop, another band I'm sure Mr. Fuller is familiar with. What he may not know, though, is that they're back with a new record. Yes, we're talking about the purveyors of Red Rubber Ball and Turn Down Day, The Circle.
Yeah.
And they've got a record that I think is coming out in a few next week, I believe, on the Friday. Was that the 22nd? The Circle Revival, and indeed it is. And like I said last time, this is not just like a rehashing of their hits or anything like that. Most of the songs on this record are brand new, and they still sound really good, I have to tell you. And Don Danneman, the main man of the Circle, will be our guest on Material Issues.
Nice.
On March 17th.
Wow.
So by April 17th, pardon me.
Yeah.
And by that time, this record will be out on the Great Big Stir label. So look for it. You will not be disappointed. So that's what we have in store for you so far.
That'll be episode number 150. The Circle. Wow.
Yeah. So so we still have irons in the fire as always, and we'll be bringing to you as many great guests, both music and otherwise. Maybe we'll throw in a bit of a wrinkle since we're having all musical guests coming up, and that's kind of what we've had for the last several months. Maybe we'll bring in an author or an actor or something else. Who knows? You never know with us.
Yeah, but it's awesome. Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate you too. And if anybody didn't check out Lisa's posts
Lisa, we love you long time. Yes. And I've known her since 1990. So
and the inside joke here is I'm waiting for the video of Blue Ball. And you can laugh at that all you want, but that's a recipe out of the recipe book I sent her 2 weeks ago.
Right.
She made it. It's called Blue Balls. And we're waiting for what it Tom's going to have to tell us how it tastes too. So
all right, so we're talking about blue balls and tasting here.
It's a whole thing.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a whole
he said hole.
But we got a lot of great guests coming up. So if you haven't subscribed here on Facebook or over on YouTube, materialissues.com, make sure you do that. Make sure you tell all your friends. Go over to coolcatmusic.com and order Wesley Fuller's All Fuller, No Filler. And come on back next Wednesday when we have the Kings on the show. And David, it's been a wonderful night hanging out with you again. And
even a wonderful afternoon. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful afternoon. And thanks everybody for
wonderful morning
for joining in. Yeah, we're coming afternoon, night, morning. It's all good. But we'll see everybody again next week right here on Material Issues.
Everyone take care of yourself. Stay safe. Have a great
weekend
and week. Love to Chaz.
Have a great night, everybody.
Bye-bye.